Okay. Here we are.
Sorry.
Here we are.
And no, just to answer your question, I am not trying to push it in terms of how late we can go. Technically, we're supposed to start at 7:05, and that's to accommodate for any last minute technical issues. But they've been getting worse and worse.
You guys would
How you
want to be
doing,
a
brother
fly on the
man?
wall. You guys would want to be a fly on the wall. What happens backstage before we come on? It's think the band playing while the Titanic is sinking feeling. That's what we get over here. How you doing, man?
I am good. Luckily, we always find some lifeboats before the ship completely sinks over here
We
on this
sure
end.
do. Always
And we
always go
will.
on. The show must go on.
That's right. It is. It's amazing to think the show's been running for almost over 4 years now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's been great to be a part, a little bit of a part of it. So I appreciate it. You keeping
Well,
this
you
old
have
man
been. You have
out of
been.
the nursing home.
You have been a huge part. You have. I've had Mike Berger on multiple times. Gary Ripper has been another of the multiple time clubs. So you are in a very elite group, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. That's a great group to be in with. Mike is my man.
uh, Mike is a good man. Jedi Council of America is all over the place. They're like a spider that has its tendrils everywhere.
They're growing to be a heck of an organization,
Okay.
and it's kind of nice that
I,
the way they operate.
exactly. If you're looking for a cosplay group to get with, check out JCA. They are one of the fantastic organizations. I am right now. I'm trying to get through all the messages and stuff. I love the community that we have of people talking to each other. What's like Anzabel, C Anzabel 66 here is a new found friend that is a regular, and I'm just trying to get through. I want to make sure all of you can know that your voices are heard here.
Oh, there's a lot of loud voices in the
Uh,
comments. Mostly, a lot of loud voices saying some stuff about, "Hey, where are you guys? How come you starting late again? The ship is sinking." Blah 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 blah. Nice folks, though.
but we got it together. I want to remind you too, if you were in this area, I apologize. I don't know why my voice is all crazy. August 3rd, Kyber Cave is the place to be. KyberCon 4. We have Chris Bartlett of Disney Plus fame. He is C3PO plus 19 other droids. And of course, we're gonna have the Droid Club. Did I just bounce out? Oh, of course,
No,
we're
no,
gonna
no.
have our
You're good.
droid
You're
local
good.
droid builders club out here, hanging out with C3. Yeah, I see that I came back in. It was very very odd.
No, you're
I'm
doing
just
fine.
now
You're doing
getting to
fine.
near the end of all the messages, and I have not been able to read them. So hopefully, you guys have been discussing with each other. But August 3rd, Chris Bartlett will be up at Kyber Cave. He will be up from LA at Kyber Cave. He's going to do a panel, so you'll get to sit and ask him questions about his experience, about what it's like to be on all these different shows. He's on Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. Anytime you've seen C3PO in any of the Disney Plus, that has been this gentleman, Chris Bartlett. And I had a great interview with him on this show. You'll get a chance to meet him live. We will have hourly giveaways as well as a costume contest at 3 o'clock. David Gonzalez, who was Akrev, he was the drummer in Jabba's Barge. He will also be there at the spot doing autographs and talking about his experience as well. So
It's going to
make
be a
sure you come
pretty
out
awesome
August
event.
3rd. It is a free at the Kyber Cave. I wish you could be here.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be on separate coasts, so we should be in the same place. You need to move the cave
That's right.
over to the East Coast, or
I
I
need a
got to talk
Kyber
my
Cave
wife
East
into
Coast.
moving to California. That's what you need. Exactly.
No, you probably don't want to come out this way. Yeah, this is not. It's not great in California right now.
No. That's what I've heard. South Carolina's no
So
picnic either.
right. You guys have all the humidity. I can't deal with that humidity.
95 today and a lot of humidity.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we have on our show, we are very fortunate. We have for the last couple of years had one of the top flow artists, one of the OG flow artists. He was one of the original guys spinning the blade back when people used to make fun of him because you can't spin that blade. That has nothing to do with fighting. I don't know why anyone would be interested. Now there is a big group of people. Goodness, I was right.
Now you're dropping.
Who are addicted to this art called flow. I think, especially since the pandemic, huh?
Good, you're good, you're good.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. I think especially since the pandemic, when a lot of people were separated and they couldn't fight together or do any saber arts together. Being able to do flow was a pretty popular thing. So a lot more people got into it. There are a lot of big name artists, and every week, Mr. James Kaiser brings us a different flow artist to check out. So let us see who we have this week. Sorry. Everything's moving so slow on my computer.
Yeah, usually you'd have terrific.
I apologize.
Yeah, Mr. Kaiser does a good job of bringing some pretty good talent here.
We are lucky. He brings us not only lightsaber flow. A lot of times he'll bring us fire flow. He'll bring dart artists. All right, let's see if we can get this started. All right, with no further ado, here we go.
And we're off to the race. Okay, that was interesting. That was as interesting as the one last week. That guy is ready for America's Got Talent.
Make sure to check out, if you want to see more of what that gentleman does, make sure to check his info out in the details down below. Especially anytime you've seen any of our shows, you want to learn more about the flow artist or more about the special guests that we have, or even when we used to have Kevin Hogan with his California conventions. Always make sure to check out the detail box. There's a ton of information there. Or if you ever want to get a hold of us or have any suggestions for people that you might want to see us interview on this show, please let us know and get a hold of us. We would love to hear from you. Speaking of hear from you, my friend, tonight's special guest is one brought to us by you. And you always bring us fantastic people. What do you got lined up for us tonight? Who is this?
Yeah, this
fantastic
one is
person?
Really special. So you talk about female empowerment. Ren Herdman is a true badass in every sense of the word. She's a 7th degree black belt. She's a grandmaster in Tang Soo Do. She's probably one of the highest rated females in the world. And that doesn't even touch the surface of what she's accomplished. She's been a TV journalist. She's been a radio personality. She's been in a couple movies, one with Van Damme. She's a writer with 4 or 5 books. She's been on 10 different magazine covers for martial arts. She's run programs, community programs for kids, self-defense course for Native American women. I mean, the list is twice as long as what I just said. So totally impressive.
Apparently,
lady,
she's
and,
also a vampire because it doesn't sound like she sleeps.
No,
Sorry.
you also throw the fact that she's a wife and mother on there. So that's a full-time job by itself. So her list of accomplishments is probably the most impressive I've ever met in another human being. So she's a friend of mine. We'll talk about how we met, and then we'll get into her accomplishments as much as we can, both on the martial arts side and on the community side.
What's her name?
It's Karen Herdman. Karen
and
Eden
Herdman. We go.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. Did you hear the beginning part of it? Did you watch the flow? Are you ready to
that looks awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So listen, what do you want me to call you? I know you as
people call my name is Karen. People call me Ren for short, and that's fine with me. I just go by Ren Herdman. In the martial arts business, I've been doing that a long time. People know me as Karen Eden. I was established as a martial artist before I actually got married. So anything in that arena, I will answer to. So have your pick at it.
Okay. All right. Well, then, because I'm old, I'll be 69 in a couple of weeks. I'll call you Karen because that's what
Sounds
I know
good.
you as.
No worries.
So everybody that's watching the show, Karen and I live basically in the same town. And Karen, can you tell the audience how we met?
I was actually working out at the gym, and I try to walk 3 miles a day. And on that particular day, it was so hot, I was trying to get the miles in at the gym. And I noticed that there was someone giving sword lessons to somebody else. And being a martial artist, I was incredibly interested. So I was walking and watching intently the whole time. And when obviously it was you, and when you were done with the private lesson, I just came up and said, "Excuse me, tell me about your sword lessons." And I think that's how we got started there, my friend.
That's exactly right. So she was interested. What I was doing was teaching. A couple was getting married and they wanted to do a lightsaber dance. So I was helping them with the choreography. Karen came over. We've been friends. She told me a little bit about herself. I was curious. I went back and looked her up on Google. And I couldn't believe that I'd actually met a person of that stature. So, and we've been friends ever since. We were just together a couple of days ago. She was at a community event. She brought her class to do a martial arts demonstration. What a nice bunch of young people. So my heart's out to you. So Karen, we talked about this offline. What I wanted to do was break this interview down into 2 parts. First of all, I wanted to get a little bit of personal information about you, where you grew up, if you're married, you got kids, that kind of thing. Then we're going to talk about your martial art career, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about your community service, if that's okay.
That sounds good.
All right, let's start with who is Karen? Where'd you grow up? What was you're married? You got kids? That kind of thing. You don't have to tell
sure.
The
So my dad was in the Air Force. So I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. However, I grew up in the Southwest Virginia area. It's it's the Appalachian region, and right outside of Roanoke, Virginia. And I got into the broadcasting business actually at the age of 15. I started my own radio show, and that was very young, but I did that for probably 12 years. And about the tail end of that, about 6 or 7 years into my radio, I got into television. And so from there, I got a better job, and I went into what they call major market TV, and I was a weather anchor. So the truth is, I was actually doing the weather before I was actually a meteorologist, and they got real stuffy. Eventually, like, oh, you've got to be a bona fide meteorologist to do the weather, and they didn't want to lose me. So believe it or not, they sent me back to school and paid for my college degree, my college certification in meteorology, which I got to tell you, that was hard. But
Listen,
anyway.
I have a master's in meteorology and oceanography, so I
Oh, do
know
you?
exactly how
So,
hard
well,
that was.
yeah.
I
So you
do, yeah.
probably would ace it, but for me, I
Yeah.
was more of a talent. I love the talent side of it. But anyway, I did that for about counting everything, being a reporter and a weather anchor and an air personality, probably about 25 years. So I've been married. Let's see, 23 years, and I have a son. Cody is finishing up a football scholarship in Kansas. So
Oh,
he's
wow. Wow.
22. So
Wow.
that's pretty much my personal life in a nutshell.
That was outstanding. So listen, when you started your radio program at 15, what was the topics that you covered? I mean, I'm
Well,
sure you weren't doing heavy duty politics and interviewing presidents and
no,
stuff. So
it was actually nothing like that. I used to spin gospel music. So it was a little daytime AM country gospel radio station right outside of Roanoke, Virginia. And then I did spec programming when that was over. Um, because I was under the age of 16, they actually maybe called it an internship or something. I worked free for like a year. And then when I was 16, they actually put me on the payroll. But yeah, I did live programming. Back then you spun records. I know I'm really showing my age now, but we actually had to cue records.
oh well.
Yeah, and
I
then the
mean, that
spec
sounds fun to
programming was
me.
on reel to reel. Come on now, Tony, you know what that is, reel to reel.
I do. I do.
So we
Same
actually
thing
did the
with.
spec programming that way. And, it just led to a better job and a better job and a better job. So I was doing that for quite some time. And then, I mean, I'm ready to go into my martial arts career. If you are, I'll tell you how that kind of worked out for me.
Next
As a
question.
young girl, unfortunately, my parents split up when I was like 3, very young, and I grew up in very unfortunate circumstances from a broken home. We were very poor, and I do mean poor, very poor. Like sometimes food was scarce, that kind of poor. And I always wanted to be in martial arts. Nobody else in my family was like me, but I was just fascinated with the things that I saw with martial arts. And when I became ployable, I walked in a studio and started training, and I just never looked back. And here I am, a very rare female grandmaster with 7 black belts. I just first of all, I don't know where time went. That just was like, it
it goes
doesn't
by
seem that
quick.
long ago. But
Again, same similarities. Projects kid, same stuff. Broken home, single mom, no food, all that. I would look with envy at the people that were studying martial arts, and so I couldn't afford it either, and so I ended up, starting boxing later on. But you didn't go into martial arts until a little bit later in life, right?
I was ployable. I was a younger girl, but I was working at that time because I paid for my own lessons. So you're correct.
Right. So just lessons nowadays in Taekwondo are around $125 a month. How much did you have to pay back in the day?
$35 a month, and
Well
there were
worth it.
test fees. It's interesting because I never, no matter where I've gone in my life, and God's really blessed me. I never forgot that I was the girl who couldn't afford the karate lessons, which is why I do what I do today with the less fortunate children.
Yep.
And young people, I have a heart for it. So I've always set up programming where I can go into the community and make very affordable. To tell you the truth, I find somebody to pay for their lessons. I find someone to buy their uniforms.
Yeah.
In our case right now, it's the police athletic leagues. They've been so gracious to pay for everything it takes to train in martial arts for these inner city kids. But that's where I come from with that. I'm not, bitter or depressed about the way I grew up, because it made me who I am. I'm the woman with this heart for kids and young people because of the way I grew up.
Oh, absolutely. So the question that I have is, why Tang Sodo? And then if you could explain, because we see
Yeah.
Taekwondo.
So yeah,
You
yeah.
go to
Tang
one corner,
Soo
another
is
corner.
it's basically hand-to-hand combat. So you've heard of Taekwondo. That's a big American art. In Korea, Tang Soo Do is very, very popular, and Taekwondo is not. Taekwondo is more of an Olympic-style kicking sport. Tang Soo Do is based out of the military. They actually teach it in the Korean military, and it is hand-to-hand contact. So it is. I mean, it's a pretty. It's not a fluffy sport. I mean, and
Right.
most
So
girls don't want to do that. However, I just loved it. The reason why I picked it was because CS Kim in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time was offering a grand opening special for $35 a month, and I could afford it. Honestly,
now
that's
you've
the only
talked.
reason I picked Tang Soo Do. I would have picked anything that was I could have afforded, but it was just they did great marketing, and I ended up once I became a higher ranked red belt and black belt, I had a school with them for 10 years. So I've been a school owner. I've competed in tournaments. I counted actually the other day. I tried to think of how many karate magazines I've been in, and to the best of my ability, I've been in over 340 karate magazines. So yeah, and 5 books. And so
In
I'm the type of person when I really want to do something, I really am unstoppable. And so that's just a little bit of my wiring, I guess.
well, exactly. Then in Tang Sodo, first of all, Master Kim is famous because he had another student that he trained,
Yes.
and you revealed it the other day. Who was that?
Chuck Norris is also a Tang Soo Do student. My instructor trained him in Korea because he was in the Korean military. Well, he was in the military and stationed in Korea. So that's my
Right.
understanding with that. We
Now
also
you
have
had to
some
go to
other.
Korea, right?
He was at
You
the Osan Air Force Base. Chuck Norris was.
right? Yeah, I've been there. Did you have to go and train in Osan in Korea?
Oh no, I didn't. I trained in Pittsburgh, but my instructor trained him. My instructor, CS Kim, is a Korean. He trained Chuck Norris in Korea.
And so that's how you learn the language from Master Kim.
No, well, learning the language actually, that's because to be a black belt in Tang Soo Do, you have to know how to speak Korean. That's why I
Right,
know
right,
Korean. That's a
right. Well,
requirement. Your entire test in Tang Soo Do, at least in our federation, is conducted in Korean. The commands are all in Korean. So that is one of the reasons why I know I'm not fluent, but I know enough Korean to probably to get by.
so in Tang Sodo, so it's a combat style, and so a lot of people here, watch mixed martial arts and that kind of thing. When I watch like karate and taekwondo, they don't really do any ground techniques, or they don't do any real joint manipulations. Is that in Tang Sodo as well? So
Yeah,
arm
traditional
guards, that
martial
kind of thing.
arts is all technically is all standing. We do get into some other, we do get into like sitting sparring and things like that at a higher rank. But most traditional martial arts will start training you from a standing position. There's not a lot of grappling traditionally. Not that, hey, my goal is for you not to get me to the ground. Okay.
Right. You're hoping to get the
If you
knockout
got me to the
before it
ground,
gets
I've already lost a little. So I need to
right.
make sure I can get off the ground.
Exactly. So then, when you have 7 degrees of black belts, I'm going to guess that there is a hurdle for each black belt that has to be different. That there's a process to go from first degree to 7th degree. Can you? And I've always been fascinated by you higher ranked black belts, because I can't imagine what it's like or what the requirements are at each belt. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So once you become a first degree, what we call a first Dan, black belt basically means, as my instructor said, congratulations, you now know how to walk. So in Tang Soo Do, it's not the fact that you're a black belt is like you're a beginner all over again, in the way that the Korean martial arts looks at that. So, you go to second, third, and once you're at fourth degree, which takes about 12 years of training, you're considered the master rank. So at fourth degree, you've already beaten thousands of people to get that rank. I don't mean beat them up. I mean, you've beaten them out because most people quit. Most people do quit in martial arts. And then by the time you get to seventh degree, it is 30 years of teaching and training, and that is considered the rank of grandmaster. So for a female to reach that rank, it is very rare in our art form because it is a hand-to-hand combat. But there are other women that, some of them are higher. There are a couple I can think of that have been doing it longer than me. So the interesting thing is, for first degree, you have to wait 2 years before you test. Second degree, you wait 3 years before you test. Third, fourth. So now that I got seventh degree in 2020, I have to wait 8 years before I can test again. So there are only 10 degrees of black belt. So by the time you get your 10th degree, if you do it right, you're going to be extremely old, or they're going to open up your casket and put the belt in with you. Honestly, that's how it works if you're legitimate, because you have to keep adding the years on. And eventually, if everybody sticks with it, you'll all be the same degree. So at seventh degree, if people below me that were 4, 5, 6 years under me, if they keep going, eventually we'll be the same degree, because that's just because you have to keep waiting to test again. Right.
So do they just add more techniques per belt?
Oh, it gets harder. Oh, yeah. The higher your rank is, the harder it gets. So, for instance, at this test that we have coming up Tuesday, which I know you're going to be sitting at the head table at, I have a student flying in from Denver who's going to be testing for the rank of second degree. He has to do a jump double split kick and break 2 boards simultaneously at the same time in the air. So that's a very difficult break. I'm sure he can do it. I had to do it. But every break becomes more difficult. Every move becomes more difficult. Every form becomes more difficult. But that's the way martial arts is set up.
So then, on top of that, is there a requirement for you to teach? So either have a school or be part of a school. Is that also a requirement?
Oh no, not everybody can teach. That's a whole new ball game. Just like not everybody can coach, and people who teach aren't necessarily the best martial artists, but they're good teachers. So, I am a teacher. If you're a teacher, Tony, I believe you can teach anything. Teachers just teach. Teachers just teach. I've always been someone who could teach, and it's a passion of mine, but there are a lot of people who are very good at martial arts that do not have teaching skills or have any desire to teach, actually.
Just to let folks know, we were doing a choreography class, and Karen came in and worked with our students at Aiken Saber Academy on falling and proper techniques for kicking. So that was all part of the choreography. So she really improved our choreography. She said it. She's a teacher. She came in. She taught. It was like no brainer for the kids. They just moved from me to her. I think they liked her better, to be honest with you.
They did very well. Whether it's saber, sword, martial arts, we're all kind of in the same arena. So it's really easy to pick up the other types of martial arts, because it's all kind of a fighting art. So, everybody gets excited about it.
So and same with Tanks Without. So it's a combat form, but when you're working with kids, are there restrictions on what you can teach them? So yes, they can break a board. That's pretty standard. But are there some like strikes and things that you can't teach them just because they're not ready, or for liability or anything like that?
In class, it doesn't matter what your rank is or how old you are. We don't do street defense in class. We teach self-defense, and we practice street techniques on the bag, but we don't fight and use street techniques on each other for obvious reasons that you could get very hurt. This stuff does work. So there are a lot of things that we maneuver. We have rules we maneuver away from, no groin kicks, no kicks to the back, no kidney punches, no face punches, and things of that nature. A lot of students, have professional jobs. They don't want to have to go into work with a black eye, or that kind of thing. You got to be realistic about it. So when we spar, we actually do have rules about what you can do. Now, as you go up higher, say by the rank of red belt, you are allowed to, kick to the face with good control because you have that control.
Right,
Or you can
right,
do
right.
other techniques. But in the beginning, until you probably have a good 2 years of training, there will be no street type fighting when we spar.
Right. But so you do regular sparring. I mean, your school's sort of new in the Aiken area, so you're at that point where you're gathering, I guess, protective gear, the headgear and the gloves and
Right. I
so forth,
have
right?
that, but honestly, we're pretty safe. I let them know if they want to wear sparring gear, they can. But honestly, people have people think that martial arts is not a safe sport. Honestly, martial arts is one of the safer sports if you have a teacher that's doing it right.
Oh,
I have a
absolutely.
kid that plays football. I can't tell you the surgeries and stuff that he's gone through. And I've done 34 years of martial arts. I've never been hurt. So, martial arts is actually a very safe sport as long as you have a teacher that's teaching, the correct way to do things.
Yeah, we fight with lightsabers, so they're polycarbonate blades, but we have an age limit. You have to be at least 14 because accidents happen. You're gonna get hit even through your gloves and those. And even though we try to control force, stuff just happens. You've got your age goes a lot younger than that, correct?
I usually take them about first grade because you have to have your motor skills. And usually by first grade, kids do have motor skills. You have to know left from right. I do little tests with them to make sure that they're ready to go in class because I don't want to frustrate the kids and then they never want to do it again. So sometimes I'll kick them back and say, bring them back in 6 months. But usually about first grade is right.
And how old's your oldest student right now?
You mean at this where I'm at now or in my
Yeah,
career of
no,
teaching?
right now. I saw a bunch of them the other day, and they went from
I actually have some parents that train with their students. So I think my oldest student here is probably in their 30s, but I have students well in their 70s. Tony, I'm going to have to grab my charger. I don't know why my phone is draining so horribly.
Yeah.
But just
Go
keep
ahead. Go ahead.
talking for a minute. Let me go get my
I
charger.
will. So just for those, while Karen's getting the charger, she's got an outstanding class, and like she said, they go from younger to older. The group is very diversified, so you've got kids from all races in that class. She's really old school. Thank you, Karen. You're back. I mean, she's a no nonsense. My granddaughter turns 7, and I'm looking forward to try to getting her in that class when she's due, so that she can avoid the issues that we had. So I have another question for you. I noticed that with, let's say, Taekwondo studios, I'm not going to bring anyone, that they seem to give belts away. And how do you feel about that? You know what I'm saying? If you're there 2 months, you get a belt. You go another
Right.
4 months, they give you a
Um,
lollipop and another belt, that kind of thing.
well, it's not just Taekwondo. A lot of
Okay.
martial arts schools, unfortunately, I call them, are selling out. And they do tend to give belts for reasons other than that they have actually been earned. I do not let anybody test that hasn't put the time in. That's the biggest thing for me is the time. And, it gets stricter as you train more. So by the time you're at a red belt rank, which is right below black belt, you're going to become a black belt candidate. We get very picky with you. We turn into to big meanies teachers. These Tung Sido teachers do, how you hold how you just hold your pseudo, how you hold your thumb, the angle of your wrist, all these things matter because you're getting too close to the rank of black belt. So we get very picky. The tests you're going to see coming up next week, Tony, these are all white belts. So honestly, I know I'm going to have to let a lot slide. I'm a perfectionist. Right. I don't like that, but they're white belts. Some of them have only been training 4 or 5 months, 3 or 4 months, some of them. So I got to let a lot slide. But as they climb in rank, I will work with them more. You can't overwhelm somebody initially. I've learned that the hard way as an instructor. I know when I had a school, I'm like, driving everybody. No, that's not right. You have to do it like this. And I've just learned to relax a little more and make sure people go home with a smile on their face and that they love this martial art. Right. And then gradually work in more things and more changes that they need to do. So by the time they test for black belt, which should take a minimum of 4 years in my art form, then they're going to have all the knowledge. They just got to get their head and their heart straight, and then they should be able to take that test.
Well, I suspect the studios do that because if the kids aren't moving forward, they're not going to stay. However, having said that, I kind of agree with a little bit of that in the early ranks. Kids love ranks. They love to have belts in ROTC. They love to have ribbons and medals. For my school, we give away patches and certificates, and they have to be achievable at the beginning. So I'm with you on that. If you're going to give a bunch of white belts and they do pretty well and they earn the next belt up, which I think is yellow, more power to it. But some of the ones you see a black belt or somebody wearing a black belt, and you just know they're not at
Well,
the black belt
I got to tell you, over the course of my career, I've met a lot of black belts who, shame on their teacher. They don't even know what their art form is. They don't even know who their teacher was. I mean, those are two things you never forget if you're a legitimate martial artist.
Right.
There's a lot going on today. I mean, there's 10 degrees of black belt. I'm seeing people that are coming up with 15 degrees, the 30th degree, like the Masonic Lodge. I don't know what's going on with that, except someone's probably making some money somewhere. But, I take the high road and I do the right thing. My students have to be the real thing because I've got nothing to lose. This is a community service for me. Money's not even an option for me. I don't care. You have to pull your load and you have to be the real thing in my class or you won't advance. And I don't have to worry about all the other stuff that school owners have to worry about.
Right. Well, I heard you in the podcast say something, was either you or the other person that was interviewing, that you get your 10th degree black belt when they're putting your casket in the grave and they just put the award on top. And then you and the other fellow went on to talk about that meeting somebody who said he claimed to be a 15th degree black belt. So that's sort of stuck with me because it in my mind, it degrades whatever art form of martial art that you're doing if you just give away belts when they're not ready at the higher levels.
You're doing your student a disfavor because eventually it's going to catch up with them. And if you don't feel like the real thing, I mean, it's horrible, to know that you don't feel like a black belt. You can take my belt. It doesn't matter. My belt's in my heart. I know what I am and I wear it. It's a daily part of my life, whether I'm wearing the belt or not. And that's the way you need to feel if you put in the time and you've done it correctly. So if you haven't done it correctly, that's a slant on your teacher, that you weren't taught to feel it inside of you every day when you go into the world that you are a black belt.
Exactly. So I got one more question on the martial arts section, and then we're going to move on to the rest of your life. And you've written a number of books in the martial arts, and then you had some kind of business relationship with Century. Century makes boxing equipment, martial arts equipment. And I couldn't figure out exactly what that relationship was. I think it was uniforms or T-shirts or something. Can you talk about those two things? The books you've written?
Yeah, so Century Martial Arts is a world leader in martial arts supplies. I mean, if you look at a bag or the bob, everybody knows the punching bob. That's all Century Martial Arts products. And I was a karate magazine columnist for one of Century's magazines. And I wrote this poem called I Am a Martial Artist. And people, the response on that was it was just incredible. So Century Martial Arts decided to take that poem and put it on T-shirts and mugs and posters, and it was one of their best-selling items all over the world. I think you can still get it. I'm not sure, but it's something that spun off a book, a product line, and then I followed that up with They Call Me Master, and that also spun off a product line. So I've been very successful with marketing products. And Century Martial Arts did pick those products up. And they're, I see them around today, and it's just a real honor to know that something that I wrote actually touched somebody so deeply that, it spun off into other items and other ideas for people to really take that to heart. It's a true honor.
Right. But you also wrote Taekwondo for Idiots, I think.
Yeah, the Complete Idiot's Guide to Taekwondo. I sure did.
There it is.
All right. That was actually a major publishing through Simon & Schuster Macmillan. That was my first major book publishing, and they had those idiot guides to everything back then: how to change a tire, Complete Idiot's Guide to Finances. And I got approached to write the one on Taekwondo because they know Taekwondo in America is the most popular martial arts. And so because I don't know a lot of the practitioner side of Taekwondo, I brought in my good friend Keith Yates, and he's a Taekwondo master, and we wrote that book together. He co-wrote it with me. And so he did a lot of the technical part of it, and I did all the philosophical part. So yeah, that was a pretty good book, and that was back in like 97, I think, or 98.
Yeah, those books are pretty thick. They're not really small little thin things. I mean, you had to put a lot of work into
that was that was I had to write that book at a very difficult time in my life. I'll never forget it. Just between you and me, I was going through a divorce. I was working a major market TV job, and we had the chief meteorologist quit, so I was working 7 days a week. It was a tough time. I remember throwing that book back at one of the producers said, "I'm sorry, my life's too crazy. I can't do this book right now." And I'll never forget John Corcoran pushing the book at me and goes, "Karen, you will do this book because it's going to set you in the industry as a writer." So I'm not sure if I just lost you guys.
No, you're locked up. So give it a second. All right. So Van, are you there? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, one second. Hello. Can you hear me? Oof. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, we're on. Karen is locked up in
Okay.
a pose.
Yeah, Karen, try what do you call it? Refreshing your page. Yeah, it may be your connection in right now. It that's the beauties of streaming. Every once in a while, it happens.
Yeah. Well, I guess she was knew that
Oh.
we were coming to her life story now, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to let my business out." Well, she's a pretty impressive lady. So.
Been an amazing interview. Hopefully she's trying to come back in.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing interview. And then to listen to her talking about being the author of Taekwondo for Idiots, that blows my mind.
She's she's an incredible, motivated lady. I mean, she was not kidding. Nothing stops her. Watching her teach as one instructor to another, it's wonderful. She's just old school. She doesn't take a lot of crap. If kids don't behave or they're too young, she sits them right down. I see somebody here saying they're a practitioner. So for all you martial artists out there, Karen's the real deal, and she's a little bit, she's not as young as she used to be. So she'll talk about her aches and pains. And there are a lot of them. You can't live the kind of life that she's had without constantly getting injured and the aches and stuff that are associated with. So she's got a pretty good routine to keep her physically fit.
Right.
And a lot of it has yoga and Pilates and walking and things like that. All right. So Kevin Hogan says, "I can hear you. Can you hear me?" Yes, Kevin. We can hear. We can hear. We can.
Star Wars reference.
Yep.
And to hear that she's a 7th degree in a art form that Chuck Norris also does, because everybody always has the jokes about how strong Chuck Norris is.
Well, I mean, when he was a competitor, he was a pretty amazing competitor before he became an actor. And then in the acting, it was a pretty decent show. I used to watch his show back in the day. She says he's kind of old now and that he's had a couple strokes, so he's not quite. He's staying out of the public eye for right now. So
wow.
I know he used to sell that athletic equipment, the board that slid up and down. But I guess he's past that point right now. Well, age catches up to all of us. It'll catch up to me sooner or later. My wife says I need to grow up. All right, so there you go. I see something happening. Can you log back in? So what I wanted to talk about when she comes back on is the community service. So Ark and I were talking about our early lives, and we were each one of a kind growing up. So Van doesn't let his business out, but let's just say I grew up in the projects and I went to an Irish Catholic school and I got bullied. My buddy right next to me, he got bullied, and Karen went through similar kind of thing, and that lights a fire under your ass to get out and achieve in the world when you grow up that way. So I'm hoping to more explore with her on some of the things that she's doing or has done in the community. She's not here yet, but I think I can share that she was awarded the President's Lifetime Achievement Award for her volunteer work, and that's a big deal to get something like that. So
that's amazing.
She's Karate Hall of Fame. They just did a big thing for, I want to say, in Arizona and Texas, and it was all the who's who in the martial arts world who came down and they did this event with her. So I'm hoping she can make it back. Otherwise, we're going to have to figure out what else we're going to do.
Yeah. Oh man, she's such an amazing woman. It's amazing to think, all of these people are just normal people that live in our neighborhoods. They're just people that, live a block or two away. And, you never really know what kind of experiences people have. Your next door neighbor could be, a mountain climber.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, we had a fella on here the show, and he's my neighbor, and he runs Fate 66 Comics. Who knew? And an actor, and he's been in all sorts of shows, and he lives right down the road from me. You just don't know. Of course, all the people around me,
Right.
They'd be amazed to know what this old fellow has accomplished in his life as well.
Right.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Do we want to do a song and dance? We don't have Marissa to sing opera for us.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We'd have a SpongeBob opera going on right about now. Karen, Karen, we're gonna see if hopefully, Karen, if you're still out there, hopefully you can try logging back in. Hopefully she didn't go all the way out and think she was done. I don't know if you have the ability to text her, Tony, but what we could do.
I just did. I did.
Oh,
When you see me look down.
Yeah, I sent her a message to our group page as well.
Yeah.
I would love to learn more about her. What we could do is we could do our TikToks, our what we typically do at the end, our talk of the town. What time is it right now? 8:01.
Yeah, 11.
And
it's 11.
It with our late start, it would be right about time to close anyway. So why don't we do this? Karen, hopefully we can get you back in. I'd love to be able to finish this out properly. I'm learning so much cool stuff about you. For those that want to learn more about her, make sure to check out the descriptions down below. I don't know what is wrong with me. Make sure to check out the descriptions down below, and you can get all of her relevant information and find out more about her and what she does. But
just a real quick aside for just next week's show. We have the Grahams on, Melody and Jared Graham of Saber Legion fame. So in the lightsaber combat world, there are a number of power couples. There's a power couple, Diso and Anna Faulkner and TPLA.
Right.
There's a couple in a group called Rancor, and then Saber Legion. You have Jared and you have Melody. I almost think they're like real big within that organization, and that's what I want to find out. It just seems I see a lot of their involvement. So next week's show is going to be really good as we learn more about what they're doing with Saber Legion, because Saber Legion's gone through a bunch of big changes. It's already changed a lot since I started watching it in 2018. It's just they just keep getting bigger and better. So next week we'll find out what's going on with that league, and it'll be a pleasure to talk to them.
Excellent. That's a show we've never done, is couples fighting couples.
Yeah. We've got at least 3 that I know of.
Yeah. It's funny when you said that, when you were talking about power couples, I started thinking about it too. And then I can't remember her name, but I believe Kang Snow, I believe his fiance is also into fighting, and they do light speed.
I don't know his fiance. but it wouldn't surprise me. And
I might be completely wrong. I might be making stuff up. Getting Kang all engaged off.
Yeah. No, well, Kang doesn't mind a shout out anyway. That league is doing very well and growing. And now there's a thing called light fencing for those that don't know. And TPLA has brought the French style over. They're starting up a governing body associated with the United States Fencing Federation. So that sport will probably start to grow and be as big as the other two leagues here. So yeah, and the lightsaber sporting community is growing in leaps and bounds. So there's big things afoot.
I'm excited to see it as we start to see the Olympics starting to grow. And we see more of these extreme sports. I kind of think of, a lot of these extreme sports are kind of the next level. So a lot of these fencing or these saber clubs could be kind of like the next generation of fencers. Just
I
something
hope so.
A little different.
They can't do any worse than. Have you ever seen fencing on TV?
Yeah, I don't think
watching
anybody
Olympics
has
for decades. No, I don't think anybody has either. Not even at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, not to put it down, having been a saber fencer, but it's just doesn't reach out to an audience. It's too quick. It's too fast. So let's just hope that lightsabers, laser sabers, whatever you want to call them, LED sabers. I hope that actually becomes a thing. So I think she just did she answer me? So the only way to get a hold of her would be for me to call her, and she's using her phone, so she can't take my phone call and that. So I'm guessing we've lost her for good. It's
no.
So I'll talk to her later because she's not responding back to me. Sorry, audience. That happens when you're live.
Well, for all the people tuning in, I do apologize. Maybe we can have her come back at a different time and finish out this conversation. I do want to remind everybody, one thing we haven't talked about is we're only 20 subscribers away from giving away a Neopic Saber. I'm not sure exactly which one we're going to give away, but only 20 more subscribers.
Well, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to get as many as I can by hitting as many groups as I can. This is an important show. I see a lot of the same faces here. We need to grow that. I heard that you might be moving the show to a different time. Is that true or not true?
I put that out there to see what people think, only because Sundays, especially during summer and convention season, some Sundays are hit and miss. Some Sundays I'm on the road. A convention might be 6 or 7 hours away from where I live.
Right.
So a lot of times when you see Graveyard coming on a Sunday, it's because I'm driving back from a convention somewhere.
Yeah. Well, my hand's up for hoping that you can. It's 11 o'clock my time. This old man has 2 chihuahuas, a warm wife waiting. And Karen was in the same situation. So anything you can do to go a little bit earlier would be helpful to the East Coast people.
Yeah, if we could do this, like on a weekday or something at like maybe 6 o'clock or something, that might work out.
Yeah. So audience, you're all out there. Send Van your remarks and your comments, your ideas, your votes.
Let us know what you think. We can, we can continue to do it Sundays, but that means that many times I have to look for a guest host if I'm at a convention. When this show originally started off, it started off on Fridays at 7, and we used to broadcast from the store. And then it's moved around. And so now, if I just wanted to put that out there to see what people thought, it would make my life a lot easier instead of trying to, figure out where I'm going to be on a Sunday night too.
Yeah. Maybe you need to get a more handsome, younger guy than myself to come in here and hold the reins if you go earlier, if you're at a con or something like that.
You're all the handsome we can handle, my friend. All right. Well, I say we just close it up with the TikToks and the talk of the town. I want to thank everybody who has been hanging out with us. Of course, the commander, as always, we appreciate you. That was such a fun interview, and I feel like I was learning a lot about her, and I wanted to hear more. So maybe we'll see what we can do about a different time or something.
Yeah. We'll get you. It's almost time to get another Power Woman show going with maybe 3 or 4 of the Power Women, and again, the ladies of whatever you want to call it, badass ladies.
That.
I don't know. Yeah,
I would love that. And that was actually a very highly rated show too. When we did it, that had a lot of views on that particular show. So that means that other people are interested in finding out about the women lightsaber fighters, because they are ferocious.
they are ferocious. They're kicking guys' butts in just about every category of society right now. So let's give them their due and give them as much airtime as possible.
Exactly. All right. So until next week, again, we have the commander next week. He has a fantastic fighting couple for us. But until next week, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you can. That would definitely help out, and share this with all your friends. We only need 20 more subscribers, and I will be giving away a NeoPixel saber. So let's get that done. All right.
Good night, everybody.
No further ado. Take it easy, everybody. All right. Ooh, of course. Sorry, my computer is running slow. Okay, give me a second to go back to the other page.
Just don't stream live.
Right,
when
here we go. All right, good night, everybody. I know I got to remember to turn it off this time. I totally forgot last week. All right, here you go. Peace, y'all.